Hey everyone, welcome back. I have another pond-related project to share with you guys, but I promise it's going to be more exciting than security lights and security cameras. When we are out here on pond days, it is very, very helpful to have a hose with running water. Obviously, with this much sand around, you always need to spray your feet off. And even though this looks refreshing, it gets pretty warm in the summertime. Right now, this pond is about 84 degrees. So I often take the garden hose and just spray it out in the water. That's well water. So you get a real nice cool down if you go out there and swim. And this Trex decking, very, very nice to have. No splinters, no maintenance, but it gets really, really hot. I believe I've clocked this over 140 degrees in the sun. And so I added a Mr. kit on here a week or two ago. It doesn't cover the whole thing, but it gives the kids a nice path to walk and not burn their feet. Keeps them from running up and down this thing to stay off of the hot decking. And so that is not the project. That's just a little bit of backstory for you guys to explain why I have water out here on pond days. Keeping sand off things, keeping things cool, filling up little pools or these water tables, etc. But if you've been here for a minute, you know that I don't like mediocrity. And that is just kind of mediocre. It doesn't really do it for me. And so we were out here swimming a couple weeks ago, and I told my buddy Chris, I said, you know, it'd be really nice if I could harness some of that cold well water coming off of the well pump out there and use it in a fashion like this garden hose. So guess what I did? I developed a way to turn this 25 plus gallons a minute from the solar powered well pump into a fire hose that lives up there on the dock. So I did a little research, started looking around, and realized I had most of the materials to get this thing off the ground at least, which starts with this 220 gallon IBC tote. Now this is not your little soft walled IBC tote you have in like a firewood tote we use around here. This is hardened plastic, very solid. This was just sitting in the woods because when we bought this piece of property years ago, the previous landowner left all kinds of things. This is one of them. Also, that little backhoe I have was another. So I drug this thing out of the woods and power washed it and hoping that it held water, and it did. It held water. Instantly, I have my reservoir or buffer tank because the sun is not always shining and I don't want to have to run a well pump on electric if I don't have to. The idea was we're going to take the well pump, fill this tank, that's our buffer tank, and we're going to put a shallow well jet pump on here, which is right here. And once hooked up, this jet pump is going to feed this 1-inch SDR11 line, again, which was laying out here. The previous landowner had left like 180 feet of this, and I still had about 165 of it left. And so then all I needed was a nozzle, which I found on Amazon for about $9.99. So initially I was gonna have it set up and I had enough hose to get to kind of where the boat is and was hoping I could spray it over toward the beach if it had enough oomph to get there. But when I was first setting this up, it was up by the outdoor shower. And so I had enough hose to get it right by the beach. And at that point I realized this is too cool to have it, you know, not right up where we're gonna be hanging out. So then I went to Home Depot, grabbed another 100 foot of this hose, and this silly thing, I don't know if you saw it or not when I was up there, it lives up there on the dock. You can see the line actually floating through the water. I didn't think it would float even when it had water in it, but it does. But the line is up there on the dock. So let me walk you through how I built this, and we'll light this baby up. So to start, let's get this in the tank and get it filling. Probably should turn it off, but whatever, I'm just gonna go for it. Ew. How are we doing there? Are we in there? Whoop. So I have learned that when this thing's all set up and we have full sun, the well pump slightly outpaces my jet pump, even if the nozzle's wide open. We're always working with a full tank here and it'll just kind of overflow. You'll see that in a minute. All right, so we'll let that fill up. Then we add the jet pump. This is like a $150 Amazon special. If you're curious, I'll link it below. I will say in building this, I was smart enough to add unions to make my life a little easier. The tank itself has a main shutoff valve here, which is nice, but I also put one out here in front to access it a little easier. So right now that tank line is open and our shutoff valve's here. The little PVC unions are nice. Just got a little O-ring in there. Make sure that's in there. You can connect this baby one hand, need be. So this riser also has a union on it. Clamp him on. And then my water line itself. Put him on there. And then I often just add a big rock, or actually it's a piece of asphalt, on top of this line so it doesn't flip around as it's pumping. And then to power this guy, if you remember, I have juice out here now, so just have an extension cord running to one of my outlets. I actually do is wrap the connection in tape and hang it up here because this is the overflow. And once this is all the way full and the pump is not outpacing the well pump, we get water splashing down here on this rock, and this area gets kind of damp. You may wonder why I have this riser on here. I mean, at this point I kind of do as well, but before I really laid this thing out, I was thinking that was going to be my fill port for priming the pump. So a little ball valve there. You got to prime this pump obviously before you can start taking water. With my current setup though, the water gets so high, when I open this line, it charges the entire pump. I don't really even need that for priming purposes. Another was to have maybe a relief. If this was too much pressure up there, or if that pump was deadheaded, I could have like a garden hose going back in. Haven't needed that. It's got great pressure. I'm not worried about blowing anything up, and I always just make a point of leaving the line up there open. I mentioned something about deadheading this pump. This pump does not have a pressure switch in it. So whether the nozzle on the other end is open or not, this thing's gonna be putting out pressure. That doesn't bother me too much. It's easy to leave that open. What is really nice about this pump is it has a low water shutoff. So if this tank were to run dry for some reason, the pump will kill itself. I know I'm building a lot of anticipation. You guys want to see this thing in action. I don't know if you guys can see the tank level right here, about halfway. I'd say we're good to light this thing up and go to the other side of the pond and play with it for a little bit. Always make sure this is closed. That's important. Otherwise, you're going to be wearing it. All right, that line's open. We'll open up this line. Maybe. All right, just heard the pump charge. This thing will do, I think it'll do like 70, 75 PSI, and it'll lift 165 foot ahead if needed. Obviously, we're not dealing with that. Go check it out. That's actually a really great comparison right there. We got the garden hose, and then call it the fire hose if you will. Probably a 5/8 inch garden hose running at 70 PSI. We do have a constant pressure well pump at the house. But versus a full 1-inch line at about 70 PSI, you can just tell how much volume difference there is out there. All right, check this bad boy out. Again, garden hose, garden hoser, fire hose. There we go, get it on. There we go, that's probably close to max flow. There's putting out a pretty good amount of water. I'm sorry to my wallet in advance if I somehow destroy this camera with this thing. What do you think? Oh, it's cold. I will say I need a little bit more flexible hose up here. This is a step below SDR11. It's like irrigation pipe. So a little more flexible than what I started with out there, but something a little more flexible would be nice. So I probably don't need to sit around and explain the utility or why this is just fun and awesome to have. Most days I'll leave them just run like this. And I don't know if you can see out there on the tank or not, it's creeping up. We're getting close to full. I will show you that here in a few moments. But this out here will cook. I do put the canopy up, but there's still spots where the sun gets to it. And so that volume of water can cool it down really fast, really quickly. You know, blasting sand off of this thing. Filling these little water tables, and honestly right now even you can see the mist coming off of it. It's just a nice way to cool the air while you're out here, even if you're not swimming. I was surprised to see that the line did stay afloat. I guess it makes sense though. I mean, the water in there is matching the water in the pond, and then it's plastic. It's not weighted, so at first I was surprised, but it makes sense. It's not a weighted line. It's not a garden hose. It's just a tube of plastic. And this is like a traditional fire hose nozzle. You can tighten it up to nothing. Like so. Which would be kind of fun for the kids to, you know, play and run through. Or you can turn it on to... I would say the worst part of this is navigating this hose. But a 100-foot roll of this is like $65, and a 25 or 30-foot 1-inch line that's flexible is like $80. And most of the time this is stationary anyway. It's also a really nice tool to have to knock down some of this floating algae or biofilm. I do a pretty good job of staying on top of any algae we have. I'll spray it if I need to, but the water is 84 degrees right now, so even though I'm using clear pack, a little bit of algae is inevitable. I spray it and kill it, but then it floats around. This simulates a rain, you know, knocking it back down. I enjoy this thing way more than I should. Actually, this side of the pond looks a little gnarly. Let's see if we can simulate what I was talking about and clean this up a little bit. That worked pretty well. Tell you what, if we get a quick little rain tonight or tomorrow morning, pond will be looking great again. Another thing too, just having this moving water when you're swimming out here, again, gives you a nice cool spot to swim through, but it also keeps the area clean. You know, it's constant movement, constant splashing, so none of the floaters really make their way over here. It allows you to have a nice swimming spot. And let me tell you, the women love it when their raft falls under one of these things. Man, they're like, oh yeah, so great. Thanks for doing that. It's awesome. Love you. I wish there was a good way to track how high that's spraying right now. Maybe I should put some pond dye in the tank so you guys could see it a little better. Whew, that is cold. I mean, really, this water was already going into the pond by way of the well pump. We might as well do something fun with it. And I told you guys in the last video, now that I have electric out here, the options are endless, and I'm gonna think up and dream up crazy things. Yeah, you probably can't see it on camera, but right now the wind's bringing so much of that water back across the dock, like just making such a nice fine mist up there. It's like one of those mister fans. All right, there we are. Love to see that. So solar is powering the well pump feeding the tank. Shallow well jet pump is running off of electricity, and the solar powered well pump is handedly outpacing that jet pump. See all the water here running down into the pond, and that jet pump still just rocking it over there. However, this buffer tank is necessary because it doesn't take but one cloud to knock this pump offline for a few minutes before it comes back. We got about 20 to 25 minutes of runtime on this tank if there's no water going back in, depending upon how you turn the nozzle up there. So if I see this tank getting low because there's cloud cover, I'll often just spin the nozzle up there like a fan mode, so we're using less but still pulling water through the system, keeping that pump cool. But then when this thing lights back up, this thing will outpace and will catch up. For a matter of perspective, here's the flow we're getting out of this well pump. When the panels are clean and we got full sun, this is about 25 gallons a minute or so. It's a good clip. I'm glad I thought of this project before I got started on the water feature here. As I've talked about in 10 other videos, I'm gonna mount up a bunch of dirt, make a waterfall, stream if you wanna call it that, boulders, river rock, maybe a pool halfway down, a lot of splashing. The well pump's gonna be the primary. We're gonna throw a big pump in the pond to pull water on demand we want. So for reference, the well pump's like 1,600 gallons an hour, and we're gonna pull like 9 to 10,000 an hour out of this. So, but had I already plumbed all that up and had the well pump line embedded in that water feature, I wouldn't have had an easy way to siphon water off. So now knowing that I have this set up, I may move the tank further away and give the feature more of a dedicated area. I'm gonna have to tee this water line and have a diverter to go to this tank if I want to, and then have water go to the water feature. I know we are pretty far away, so I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but man, that is quite the stream coming off that hose. Both the height it's getting, the volume of water it's moving, that thing's awesome. I'm so glad I did that. The one thing I do probably need to clean up a little bit is this line as it runs through the water, like I said, is floating. And where I have it spliced together, you know, I just use these plastic fittings, these barbs, if you will, but I do have some metal hose clamps out there that are in the water. I thought those connections were gonna sink. I should probably go out there and find those connections and put, you know, like an entire roll of Harbor Freight electrical tape around them to add padding. I would, heaven forbid, someone's out here swimming and they cut their leg on those hose clamps. I'll also say too, when you first come out here and start swimming and you swim across that line for the first time, yeah, it gets your attention. I think it's a snake at first. But yeah, this is quite the cool little addition. I don't have more than probably 200 bucks in this thing. The pump was like 150, maybe 50 or 60 bucks in fittings and pipe, maybe 250. Having the tank was clutch, having the well pump was clutch, having the pond was clutch. We have not tested the low water shutoff. I'd rather not have to. On the 4th of July, my buddy ran over here because it was getting real low. We had some cloud cover that knocked the well pump offline for about half an hour. And so it was getting low. He shut it down before then, and we flipped the electric on and filled it back up. The electric really outpaces this thing. And this time of year too, we're still kind of, you know, just past June and here in early July, but the sun, even at 5, 6 o'clock, it gets so far back this way that these panels don't do a whole lot to grab sunlight. They're much better off in the later summer and early spring months when the sun's kind of sitting out here at the end of the day versus way back here. What do you guys think? Worthwhile project? I honestly love it. There's the utility function, cooling things down, cleaning things off, then just playing with the kids, spraying other people that don't want to be sprayed. And then the ambiance too, the sound that this makes right now. I don't know how well the microphone picks it up. With both of these hoses splashing in the same area, it's got a real nice fountain sound to it. And I don't want a fountain out here long term. I got my aerators for utility. But this is a nice thing to have when we're out here if we want it. It also does a nice job of actually moving some water. We got these like ripples here on the beach. I mean, I won't say it looks like the ocean, but man, it's darn close. You got the little waves cascading in here, seeing through that clear water down to the bottom. Oh, and I do want to mention, I am officially going to shoot the video I talked about in my prior video. I'm going to put together a video of us actually using all of this. I'm going to start kind of the couple days before when the beach looks all ready. when I rake it out, clean it up, you know, trimming, mowing, etc., getting everything cleaned up, putting the canopies up, the pop-ups, the pools we have for the kids if they're already out here, inflatables, you name it. I'm going to show you guys kind of what a day looks like when we use the pond. Sadly, it's already almost the middle of July. Before we know it, the kids will be back in school, and this will be turning into an ice rink as opposed to a swimming hole. I love fall, I love spring, don't like winter. Now that I have this pond, man, summer forever. So hit that subscribe button. We'll see you guys next time. I'm gonna cool off. What were they saying about isolated rain showers this afternoon?